The following program is paid for by Gateway Mortgage Group, LLC, Equal Housing Lender, NMLS number 7233. Tina Mitchell, MLO 145420, is a licensed loan originator with Gateway Mortgage Group. Contact your local branch for more information. You're listening to The Money Hour with your host, Tina Mitchell, sponsored by Gateway Mortgage Group. Now in the studio, local mortgage and finance expert, Tina Mitchell.
Wow, spooky, creepy, scary. It is Halloween weekend. Welcome to the Money Hour on 1150 AM KKNW, the Saturday, October 29th show. Halloween is all about being scared. Finances can be a little scary as well, but that's what the show is all about. I am your host and mortgage expert, Tina Mitchell. My goal is to keep you up to date on the latest news and trends in our local economy. Keep me tuned in. I'll keep you informed, and maybe it won't be that scary when it comes to your financial plan. If you're hearing my show at a different day or time, you're listening to a rebroadcast, but I'm here to answer any questions or connect you with the guests that I have on the show. Please call at 1-855-400-1150. Again, that's 1-855-400-1150 or online at themoneyhour.com. And the lineup for the Halloween weekend show today, Randy Bannecker with Bannecker Public Affairs. We're going to be talking about housing affordability and supply. Also in studio, I have John Viacava with Real Living Northwest Realtors, reinvesting in your commercial property. And last guest in studio, Andy Landis, one of the nation's foremost authorities on Social Security, Medicare, and Medicaid. How much Social Security should it matter at your youth and young age? Great information and great guests in studio today. For more information on any topics discussed or topics you'd like me to bring into future shows, please call the show at 1-855-400-1150. Again, that's 1-855-400-1150 or online at themoneyhour.com. And to start out the show today, we'll start with a little money chat. Money. Today, my money chat's around for my first-time home buyers. Any of you listening to the show that are currently renting and thinking about being a first-time home buyer, I just want to go over a few things to make sure that you don't make these mistakes that some first-time home buyers are considering to be a home buyer might make. The housing market is hot thanks to the still historical low interest rates and the lack of inventory. And some big mistakes that first-time home buyers can make. First, not considering purchasing and continuing to rent. So it may seem a little bit overwhelming in the idea of being a homeownership, but the best thing to do is to run the numbers. To do that is to consult with a mortgage consultant. That's what I do for a living full time. So if you need my assistance, I can help you there. Looking at the numbers to really see what the benefit is of homeownership versus rent. So if you're making a rent payment, remember that mortgage payment is completely different because of the benefit that you have through tax benefit, possibly tax credit if you qualify for those. So you do get an interest deduction. If you're in a 25% tax bracket, every $100,000 that you borrow, that may be around $70 a month that you're receiving a benefit in your income taxes. So that's less income taxes you're going to pay at the end of the year. If you didn't know, you can actually amend your W-4 with your employer so that you can see that money on a monthly basis in your net income rather than waiting to the end of the year to take that benefit. Also, there are first-time tax credits available for first-time home buyers, 20% tax credit on all the interest that you pay on your mortgage for the life of the loan, dollar for dollar. So that's in addition to the deduction that you have. Now, homeownership also, you have the equity that you're paying down mortgage. So every time you're making a mortgage payment, a portion of that's going towards your principal. So that's equity. That's just money that you're building up in your home and have access to you when you sell that property. Plus the appreciation that you have in your home when your property increases in value. Now, homeownership also is a fixed rate. So your majority of you would be looking at a 30-year fixed rate mortgage. So outside of your property taxes, homeowners insurance, those are going to fluctuate. The mortgage is going to be fixed for 30 years. If you look at your rent, average increase in rent on an annual basis, maybe 4 to 5%. So the difference between having a fixed rate versus a payment that you don't know where it's going to be and with no end in sight. And then the last thing when it comes to really running the numbers and considering it is if you look at a mortgage, eventually at some point in time that mortgage is going to be paid off if you're on a 30-year fixed rate mortgage and you're not continuing to buy up in your property, whereas rent is a never-ending payment. Now, also, you want to make sure that once you get into a home that you're not using that home as an ATM. You are going to be building equity, so you can get home equity lines of credit to pull money out of your home. And that's fine if you're strategically doing smart things with it. If you're taking the money off to pay off credit card debt and not building more credit card debt, or if you're taking money out to do improvements on your home so that you can build the value because of the work that you're doing on the home, and making sure that you actually can afford that additional payment that you're going to have. So just be cautious there in not using your home as an ATM. Put the cart before the home. Make sure that you're getting pre-approved. Run the numbers when you're looking at the numbers, making sure that you're finding out what you can actually approve for and know what your options are. There are a lot of different loan program options, analyzing all of them to make sure that you're picking the best program. You want to do this before you actually get out and start shopping for a home. So really get prepared on that and make sure you know where your objective is in your payment. Now, the bank is going to approve you for the very maximum. You also want to know where your own comfort range is and where you're willing or not willing to stretch that payment. So when you get out in the market, you're ready to go. Not preparing to compete in the market is a big one, especially with the lack of inventory. So this is a big mistake, not just only first-time home buyers, that anybody that's getting into the market that doesn't understand exactly the dynamic of what's happening. You've got to be ready to move quickly. If you want to get that home, be prepared up front and how to strategize and put that offer together by listening to what your real estate expert is telling you need to do to be competitive. Be prepared maybe with escalation clauses, potentially waiving inspection. I'm not saying not to get inspection. Doing a pre-inspection might be a good idea. Again, you can talk to your real estate expert on that. Come in with a strong closing. You want to be competitive there, so make sure your lender is able to close in a 30-day closing window, and that'll make you competitive when it comes to closing. Possibly look and talk to your real estate expert about waiving your finance contingency, just putting yourself in a real position to be competitive. And then also in possibly higher earnest money. Typical earnest money is anywhere from 1% to 3%. Now, right now in this market, I would say 3 on a high end would be 5% to be very competitive. That's money that's going to go directly towards the purchase of your home. So it's not money that is not coming back to you, but going towards the loan. There's a lot of other things that you can be competitive with. That's why it's important to work with a real estate expert that has knowledge of and works with a lot of buyers in negotiating, so they can really help you to coach you in that area. Too much faith online. While many credit counselors and financial advisors advocate researching mortgage online, it's a good place to check with the area that you're in and see kind of what's out there, run some quick payments. But it's really important that you get with a mortgage professional that's local in your area and meet face to face. Everybody's individual situation is going to be different. It's a lot of money and it's a big option, and you want to make sure that you're taking time not to just use resources that are online. Although half of borrowers claim to grasp basic loan term and conditions, more than 2 out of every 5 bad experiences stem from misunderstanding over fees, terms, ownership cost, according to a recent survey by PricewaterhouseCoopers. So it really does make sense to get with a professional face-to-face. And skipping the home inspection, I did talk about that and being competitive. Again, you really want to make sure that you're having an inspection to find out what that home potential issues are, the future of that home, and what you're going to need to do to maintain the home and really get an idea of where that home has been and where the house is going. So is really important. Expect home values to appreciate in the short term. Now, I don't know what the market's going to do. We've seen a lot of appreciation in the short term, and we may see a lot more appreciation in the short term. But as a first-time home buyer, investing money into your home, you really want to be looking at this as a long-term purchase, because everybody knows what happened to people that purchased in 2006 and then were forced to sell in 2008. It wasn't a pretty picture. But what about the people that purchased in 2006, which was the height of the market, and went through the crash in the market, which happened in 2008, and they're still in that home right now? They're looking pretty sweet. They're surely a lot better than the people that were renting all the way through that process, because what happened? The market recovered. If you look at the history of real estate market, the market's always going to appreciate, but you're going to see the ups and the downs in the market. So you want to make sure that when you're selling your property, unless you're selling and buying up, you want to strategically plan on when you plan on doing that. So those are just some tips for my first-time home buyers. If you're thinking of getting into the real estate market, first and most important takeaway is get with your mortgage professional. Coming up next on the Money Hour, housing affordability and supply. Randy Bannecker with Bannecker Public Affairs right here at 1150 a.m. at KKNW after this short break.
Have you recently purchased a home and are wondering how you can make it your home with a fresh new design on a budget? If so, we have the answer. Go visit the Design Center at Staging and Design Network. You'll have access to award-winning design services, new and used furnishings at up to 50% off retail, and membership is only $60 a year. They work with thousands of interior designers and professional home stagers. They also create model homes for high-end builders. Go online to staginganddesignetwork.com, all spelled out, and become a wholesale member, or visit their showroom in Kirkland. The address and directions are listed on their website. It's located in an industrial park where you would never expect. You'll consider Staging and Design Network a hidden treasure after your first visit.
This is Tricia Tomlinson with Staging and Design Network. Our phone number is 425-272-4430. That's 425-272-4430. And you can find us online at www.staginganddesignetwork.com, all spelled out.
Today we're talking with Mary Lee, who is the creator of the Ultimate Home Selling Success System, a new way to sell your home without the typical pitfalls and roadblocks which cause sellers to lose sales and profits. Mary's unique system creates a seller's market on every listing, giving the seller the best buyer and the best price in the market with no home inspection contingency. Mary hasn't sold a home with an inspection contingency since 2005. Her proven business model is changing how real estate is done, not only in the Puget Sound area, but across the country. There is a better way to sell your home in today's market, one that results in higher profits, a quicker sale, and a smooth, successful home selling experience.
Hi, this is Mary. To learn more about our Ultimate Home Selling Success System, call us at 425-941-4229 or go to www.secretstosellingyourhome.com, where you will find free consumer videos on how to prepare your home for the market, top tips for proper pricing, how to hire an expert agent, sell your home without a home inspection contingency, and get a customized market snapshot of home values in your area. This is the place where savvy home sellers are going to get expert advice on creating an exceptional home selling experience.
You're listening to The Money Hour with your host, Tina Mitchell, on Alternative Talk, AM 1150. Now, back to the show with local mortgage and finance expert, Tina Mitchell.
Well, welcome back to the Money Hour with your host and mortgage expert, Tina Mitchell, right here at 1150 a.m. KKNW, the Saturday, October 29th show, Halloween weekend. I'm committed to providing you knowledge needed to be successful in every area regarding your financing. Knowledge is power, and that's what you'll receive from listening to the show today. If you're hearing my show at a different time or day, you are listening to a rebroadcast, but you can always call the show at 1-855-400-1150. Again, that's 1-855-400-1150 or online at themoneyhour.com. In studio right now, Randy Bannecker with Bannecker Public Affairs, talking about housing, affordability, supply. Randy, thank you so much for coming back in studio.
Thanks so much for having me.
And a little bit about Randy. Randy's president of Bannecker Public Affairs. Randy has been engaged in our region's critical issues for more than 20 years. He has extensive experience advocating complex, highly visible, and controversial land use and public policy initiatives. Randy is a leader in the region's business community and has a strong record of community service, which includes co-chair Policy Committee of Greater Seattle Chamber of Commerce, President Villa Academy Boards of Trustees, past chair Bellevue Chamber of Commerce, past president Seattle City Club. And prior to former Bannecker Public Affairs, Randy held government affairs positions at Washington Natural Gas, Puget Sound Energy, and Rocky Company, now Hill and Knowlton. So excited about the conversation. Talk a little bit about the housing affordability and supply, because it really is a hot topic right now with everything that's happening in our real estate market. So Randy, you're engaged in public affairs and government relationships work on in the region, representing groups like Seattle King County of Realtors and other organizations and businesses trying to do something with government to have government not do something to them. So what is the major issue that you're seeing right now, Randy?
Well, housing has really emerged as a tremendous public policy issue. And whereas before I think we've had discussions around market rate housing, its affordability, it's really the public debate, the debate among government circles, really at every level of government, has included housing affordability, particularly for people who are earning less than median income, as well as homeless issues. Now, our challenge has been that the narrative from the government has been focused more on housing subsidy programs and increased regulations, less on what we view as the underlying problem that housing growth hasn't kept pace with job growth. And that's led to the circumstances you described before the break,
yes,
which is very little supply and a very competitive marketplace for people out on the market trying to buy.
So, Randy, there's been a great deal of debate over the homeless issue in the city of Seattle. And how do you see playing out? How do you see that playing out? And what are some of the key considerations that my listeners should be aware of?
Sure. It's a great question. You'll recall that the Seattle City Council was pursuing a strategy that would essentially make camping in public places legal.
Yes.
Places like rights-of-way, sidewalks, unimproved area of parks, even school property potentially. And there was tremendous frustration expressed by the citizens of Seattle, just average people who hadn't been engaged in outreach to the city council before and got engaged. Now, they weren't at all hostile to the fact that there are folks out on the street that need help.
Yep.
But they were frustrated that the council's solution was less than a Band-Aid, really, and could exacerbate the problem and compromise neighborhood quality and safety.
Sure. So, Randy, obviously housing has a big element of the homeless issue. And are the cities in our region headed in the right direction on affordable housing? Well, there have been a lot of positive steps. I think for instance, specifically to the homeless issue, the Seattle City Council is poised in the right direction. They're adopting a strategy defined by a national consultant, and they're looking at ways to house these people quickly and get services to them. That's important. Yes.
But we also have to be mindful that the underlying challenge is that if we don't balance supply and demand, we are pushing middle-income earners off out of the opportunity to purchase. And so those folks are having to travel farther and farther from where they live to qualify for a mortgage. And we have to be careful that when we pursue programs that would create affordable housing or low-income housing, that those subsidies are not purely funded by real estate excise taxes or by certain fees that are associated with the transaction, because as you know, that further compromises that middle-income earner who is struggling to get into their first house or condo. And we want to make sure that we've got that entry-level ownership housing opportunity well in place. Yeah,
and it's a challenging conversation and to find a solution around that. So, Randy, what role do alternative housing types like mother-in-law units or backyard cottages play in housing affordability? So,
I think they have been really underestimated in their value because these units bring a great deal to the table. They offer below market rents for those folks who are looking to rent a space. They offer an income stream to the owner, creating the opportunity for that owner maybe to stay in that house longer if they're empty nesters. And establishing greater affordability. As you know, if you can demonstrate an income stream that a mortgage lender will recognize that could help you get into a house. And they don't create significant impacts on the look and feel of the neighborhood. So they give us some immediate housing supply without fundamentally changing how we perceive our neighborhoods.
Okay. So, Randy, more and more homeowners are renting out a room or maybe the mother-in-law unit through platforms like Airbnb and HomeAway. Aren't these units taking a longer-term rentals off the market? And isn't this making it more challenging with the adding to the affordability challenge that we're having?
Well, that is very much the criticism, but I think it misses the mark a little bit. Like longer-term rentals of the mother-in-law units, these short-term rentals offer homeowners great opportunities to generate income from their home. And it gives them the homeowner the opportunity to choose exactly the amount of time, the number of days they're willing to rent the unit. Mm-hmm. So I think that contrary to taking units off the long-term rental market, I think it brings more units into the rental pool because the platform is so user-friendly, both for the homeowner and for the user. The other point I'd make is that the number of units out there right now is pretty small.
Sure.
That'll grow, but it's not statistically significant at this point. And, we are facing such a tremendous surge in job growth. We just can't house these folks.
Yeah. And
it piles on to an already difficult affordability and transportation challenge that our region is facing.
Yeah, and I think it's important to note too with the Airbnb, and I don't know about the HomeAway, you really have to be an owner-occupied property in order to participate that. So it's, in rental properties, they can't do that, correct?
That's
go into that platform.
That is up for debate. So we're going to see how that plays out.
Okay.
And I would say...
So that is not a law that's in place right now?
No.
Okay.
No.
All right.
And again, what the market is doing, what owners of multifamily units are doing, they are letting the market test the viability of that.
Okay.
And we will see is that a niche that is somewhere between a long-term lease and a hotel room.
Yes.
Is there a niche there that makes sense? Really good sense, both for that owner, but also for the user and just for the region.
Of course. So what's going on to make some real roads in housing?
Well, again, as we discussed earlier, if you think of housing as a continuum, as kind of a ladder, and you begin, you get your first rental when you're out of college or when you're in college, and you work up the ladder to make your first purchase, and you work yourself on up as you improve in the housing stock that you get. I'm worried we're losing those middle rungs. I'm worried we're losing the entry level or the moderate move up level, and that we have not been serious about balancing that market rate supply with demand and leaving almost no room in the middle of that ladder for those middle income folks. One of the things that we need to think about to solve that is taking advantage of significant increased housing densities around transit stations, in our urban villages, and in key multifamily zones. Places where density is appropriate, and places where we can do multifamily ownership, condo development, and do it in a way that gives people access to jobs and a community.
So somebody might be listening just thinking, there's all these cranes, new projects that are going on out there. How could we be having still a housing supply issue? Right.
I think the official bird of our region is the crane, right? Because that's all you see. And so I think the answer is it's good, but we need to be bigger and bolder. We just ran some numbers looking at just 11 months in 2015. There were 23,600 building permits issued in the Tri-County region, King, Pearson, Snohomish. But there were nearly 100,000 people from out of state who got new driver's licenses.
Makes sense.
Okay, so we're adding workers 4 times as fast as we're adding housing, and that is... So
it's a little deceiving seeing the cranes out there not taking consideration the population growth that we have.
Exactly.
Yes.
Exactly. And we don't want to shut down job growth.
We definitely not.
We want to facilitate it.
Yes. So we got to find a space there to bring everything together. So I've got just a couple minutes, Randy, here with you, and I want you to kind of leave with your best forward in what you're doing or what we can do to really help in making progress here.
So I would say that people need to get engaged at the community level and be open to the good things that growth can bring. And I would just ask you and your listeners to think about some of the transformations that we've seen through commercial and residential development in South Lake Union, in downtown Bellevue, downtown Kirkland. Let's watch Redmond as the Overlake Village develops. Let's watch Issaquah as their downtown plan develops. These are places that are becoming more interesting to live in and more enjoyable because there are more people there, more offerings.
Yes. Restaurants,
shops, things like that. And so let's think more about that than be worried about the change that is unknown.
Wonderful. Great advice, Randy. Thank you so much for everything that you're doing. And I, want to give a shout out on Mike here because I have a lot of realtors that come in for my Power Hour Lunch and Learns, and the information that you bring to them and helping our realtors get educated on what's going on so they can share that with their buyers and sellers. So just really appreciate you.
Thanks very much.
Coming up next on the Money Hour, reinvesting in your commercial property. John Viacava with Real Living Northwest Realtors right here at 1150 AM KKNW after this short break.
Does the home buying process frighten you? Then you need an experienced real estate broker and skilled negotiator on your side. Hire Cher Bowman Klug with the Cascade team, whose experience and strategies can help you to avoid a house of horrors. Cher is a seasoned real estate broker and has been licensed for more than 10 years. She holds a certified negotiation expert designation and has assisted many individuals and families just like yours to successfully buy and sell their homes.
Hi there, this is Cher Bowman Klug of the Klug Real Estate Group. I hang my license with the Cascade team, where our motto is simply outrageous service, not outrageous fees. Don't let the real estate process intimidate you. Whether you're a first-time home buyer or a seasoned homeowner making a transition, I'm here to understand your specific real estate needs and excited to help you successfully buy or sell your home. Contact me today at 425-260-1482 or online at www.klugrealestategroup.com. That's 425-260-1482 or klugrealestategroup.com.
You're listening to The Money Hour with your host, Tina Mitchell, on Alternative Talk, AM 1150. Now, back to the show with local mortgage and finance expert, Tina Mitchell.
Welcome back to the Money Hour with your host and mortgage expert, Tina Mitchell, right here at 1150 AM KKNW, the Saturday, October 29th show. I provide you news on everything money, fresh information, and market trends in our local economy. If you're hearing my show at a different time of day, you are listening to a rebroadcast. To talk with the guests I have in studio or chat with your host, call 1-855-400-1150. Again, you can call the show at 1-855-400-1150 or online at themoneyhour.com. Right now in studio, I'm going to have a conversation with John Viacava with Real Living Northwest Realtors, talking about reinvesting in commercial property. John, first time in studio. Thank you so much for joining me.
Absolutely. Thank you for having me.
And John, again, is with Real Living Northwest Realtors, 8 years experience managing 45,000 square foot commercial property, bachelor's in communication from Seattle University. And John, just to start out today, a brief history on your commercial real estate experience.
So for the last 8 years, as you said, I've managed our family's property in Shoreline, and we're anchored by QFC and Swedish. It's a neighborhood retail center. And in 2012, we made the decision to reinvest and remodel the property, complete overhaul, new sidewalks, landscaping, fascia, re-tenanting, attracting new tenants and a renewed sense of energy. So probably more than I can talk about in an entire show, but I'll do my best to keep it short.
So John, what was why did you choose to reinvest, remodel with your family's property?
Really, the most pressing reason is we had a number of vacancies, and coupled with that, we started to look dated, and it had been about 22 years since the property had last been remodeled. So we knew we wouldn't be able to attract the tenants we wanted the way we were looking. So we decided it was time, and there were some issues with the property. Our parking lot layout was less than ideal, and parking lot lighting wasn't the greatest for customer safety, and really just wanting to modernize and remain competitive with the market. So
got it.
Yeah.
So, John, what are some things that people should consider when deciding whether to remodel and reinvest in property?
I think the most important thing and the first step is really to figure out what your vision is and what your ultimate goal is. And, you need to really figure out what you want to get out of this. And so for us, it was to create a unique high-end neighborhood shopping experience and that kind of a feel. And like I said, to attract new tenants. For most, it's probably to attract new tenants. That's usually, as a landlord, when you have a vacancy, that's when things start to become a problem. And so for some, it may be to just get their rent roll back up to, top performance and sell it and move on. But like I said, most folks want to, fill their vacancies and fill them with good long-term tenants who add value. And so, the biggest thing to consider is your vision and also the longevity of how long you want to keep the property. If it's something you don't see yourself doing in 5 years, that will probably dictate how you reinvest and how you look at your rate of return. For us, we know that this is something we want to keep for a very long time. My great-grandfather purchased it in 1937, and we intend to keep it for another 80 years.
It's been in the family that long.
It's one of those things, and so it's something you've got to look at, how long you want to do this and realistically where you see yourself with this property in the next 5, 10, or 20 years.
So nothing different than in residential real estate or anything else that we're investing in, really just having a plan to know exactly when we plan on making a change with that investment, and that's going to change the strategy that we have on that particular investment.
Right.
So it's not uncommon for commercial property to be passed down through family by inherited. Not me. It would have been nice. But if you're a non-real estate professional and inherit, let's say, a shopping center, is this even an option?
It is. It really is. It's something where there is a steep learning curve. I remember starting out and the variety of things I learned from different concrete mixes and landscaping to lease strategies and tenanting strategies. But it's something that if you stick with it, the long-term income potential is huge. And it's something that you can pass down to your family, and I think that's really neat. And for me and for my mom and grandparents, there's a lot of pride. And so for us, it's not just a job. It's not just something we do. It's something we really feel a part of. And so I think you absolutely can do it if you decide to go forward and to manage it. The biggest piece of advice I could give is to utilize your resources. You do not need to go into it alone. I know when I started, my mom is my boss and still is, and it was really nice to have that support. And we also, utilized brokers, and they really know the market. And now as a broker myself, a lot of that experience really helps kind of guide you. You become much more effective in your decision making because you know what tenants are looking for, what people want, what the market's doing, and it'll really help position you, as best you can. In addition to that, and this probably speaks more to the long-term management of a property, but is utilizing an attorney. Know your leases and know the ins and outs of it. You live and die by your lease, and so. Part of reinvesting and remodeling is making sure you can maintain that. And that's where I think that really comes in handy. And finally, it's really important to engage your community. I think a lot of landlords are hesitant to do that. They're afraid they will face criticism. And it's not uncommon you do. I mean, when we were doing our project, there were some who didn't exactly like what was going on. I think a lot of people are hesitant to change, but I think, it's the only thing you can count on in life.
Yep.
And a lot of those people in your community want to know what you're doing. They care. They're the ones who help keep your tenants in business. So to discount their opinion, I think would not be a good idea. It's going to leave you, with less information than you could have. So
bring that community together, communicate what your plans are, have it planned out and exactly what's happening so you can find out where their needs are, where their concerns are, so you can address those and ultimately bring everybody in together on it.
Yeah, absolutely. I think sometimes what we as landlords think is best might not always reflect what the community wants. And it's very important. And at the end of the day, you won't make everyone happy.
Sure.
But it's important to at least have that kind of back and forth dialogue with them.
So you'd mentioned you got your worker's license. So what was the reason behind that, and inspired by what you're doing now?
Yeah, it was really something that after this process, I realized I had a real passion for it. Mm-hmm. And part of that was really working with local business people and finding out what makes their business different and how to best serve that as a landlord, and realized I wanted to go out and continue to do that and to help people in the local business communities, find new spaces, or as a landlord, help them fill their spaces with good tenants. And I'm always interested in what people are doing. Just today, I was meeting with a lady whose business imports fair trade and ethically produced products from India. And she said one of the biggest things for us is visibility, but we really can't have storefront windows because it degrades our product, our fabric. It's all hand dyed.
Okay, wow.
And I thought that was so interesting.
Yeah.
You would never think, so there's so many different things, and that's what I really like about what I do, and especially with retail. There's so many moving parts that it always keeps me engaged. I'm always learning something new and different, and I really like that aspect of it.
So just like again on the residential real estate and anything else that we're doing, having an expert that really understands what you're trying to accomplish is really important. So for people that are considering getting into commercial properties and finding a commercial broker, really what should they be looking for to know that they're working with somebody that really knows what they're doing and is an expert in that arena?
Well, I think obviously with any profession you work with someone, you want someone who's driven and motivated. And I think sometimes commercial brokers get a bad rap for just putting a sign up on a property and sort of walking away. And I think you need to find someone who lives in your community, who really takes pride. I think they're going to be the one who best delivers the right tenant and the right solutions. And knowing the community on a deeper level. For us, we're pretty close to Aurora, which is a huge road. I mean, about 50,000 cars per day. But we know that a lot of people don't want to cross Aurora at 5:30 at night. And that's where our shopping center as a neighborhood center really comes into play, because we serve that need. And so you need to find someone who's aware of that and who can help guide you in the right direction and help you realize and show you things about your property you may not have known. And just someone who really is ingrained within the community. They're going to be the one who has the best connections and who knows who's looking for what, and what local business person is their lease is up in 6 months, and they can kind of connect you, and that's really what
somebody that a commercial broker that is connected, invested in the community.
Correct. Yeah, on a deeper
makes
level.
Total sense.
Yeah.
So what is one of the most common pitfalls of a landlord when redeveloping their property?
Well, I think really there's two, and sort of as I had said earlier, utilizing your resources.
Yes.
I think a lot of people feel that they either don't know how to look for the help, or they don't know the questions to ask. And what I would say there is obviously find a good broker, engage within your community groups. Chances are they probably know somebody who's in commercial and who can help guide you in that in that industry. And then this may sound obvious, but staying organized. It's something that it's very doable, but you've got to be very regimented. And if all of a sudden life gets in the way and things pop up, things can get derailed. And that's when you really come with issues, and especially in a construction project like a remodel. If you miss certain deadlines, all of a sudden you're months over your project, and that's a lot of money out of your pocket.
Yeah.
And I mean, each day you're on the job, it costs. And so you've got to stay organized, and you've got to make sure you've got good experts behind you to help you go through that.
So, John, why should you invest in a property rather than just let it sit and try to maximize your profits?
Well, plain and simple, really, eventually they'll run out. What will happen is you will look dated. Your property, sort of as ours did. You begin to look dated, and it's very hard to attract new tenants, and it's hard to keep the ones you have. And then all of a sudden your cash flow is at a point where it's not very viable to reinvest in it. So the key is to reinvest before you get to that point. Yeah. It's not going to end well if you let it sit too long. And ultimately, a remodeled property is almost always going to command higher rents and attract better tenants, and than those who are dated. It's the way to go if you want to continue this asset and continue to manage. You got
to really make sure that you're taking care of the asset.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah. It's really important to do some kind of investment, even if you can't do a massive overhaul. Every 3 to 5 years, have a project, whether it's new landscaping or sidewalks or updating your parking lot or signage.
And that makes sense. I mean, I always talk about doing, making small changes because nothing different here. It can seem overwhelming if you look at the big project or the big picture. But if you're just making small changes, like you said, then you're maintaining and keeping it at that up-to-date level.
Correct. It's sort of a preventative maintenance in a sense.
Yeah.
So.
John, thank you so much for coming in and joining me in studio. I'm excited to have you come back again in the near future.
Absolutely. It was a pleasure.
Coming up next in the Money Hour, how much Social Security should matter to the youth? Andy Lannis, one of nation's foremost authorities on Social Security, Medicare, and Medicaid, right here in 1150 AM KKNW after this short break.
Do you want to increase your professional effectiveness and create long-term clients who bring their friends with them? Sandy McCalla with Etiquette for You takes pride in helping professionals and companies deepen their people skills and enhance their corporate culture. Sandy is a certified etiquette consultant, speaker, and mentor with over 45 years in service industries who specializes in building successful track records.
To get more information on a customized plan for yourself or your organization, you can call me directly at 425-209-9952 or reach me online at etiquetteforyou.com. Again, that is Sandy McCalla, Etiquette for You at 425-209-9952 or etiquetteforyou.com. I look forward to connecting with you soon.
You bought it, but do you know how it works? We're talking Social Security, the biggest mystery in your financial blueprint. Now, move from mystery to mastery with the new book, Social Security, The Inside Story. Author Andy Landis has helped thousands of people just like you master Social Security.
Hi, this is Andy Landis. You can learn more at my website. Go to www.andylandis.biz. That's andylandis.biz.
You're listening to The Money Hour with your host, Tina Mitchell, on Alternative Talk, AM 1150. Now, back to the show with local mortgage and finance expert, Tina Mitchell.
Well, welcome back to the Money Hour with your host and mortgage expert, Tina Mitchell, right here at 1150 AM KKNW, the Saturday, October 29th show, Halloween weekend. It's a great day to talk money. That's why I'm here with you and what the show is all about, how to make money, save money, and build a better quality of life for you and your family. If you're hearing my show at a different time or day, you are listening to a rebroadcast, but you can always call the show at 1-855-400-1150 or go online to themoneyhour.com. And right now in studio, I have Andy Landis, nationally known author, speaker, and my go-to guy on everything Social Security, Medicare, and Medicaid. Andy, thank you so much for coming back in studio.
Thank you, Tina. Great to be here.
And our topic today?
Social Security checkup time for younger workers.
So if you're young, you definitely want to stay tuned in and listen to my conversation.
You'll be surprised.
You will be surprised. And a little bit about Andy. Andy Lannis is one of nationally foremost authorities on Social Security and Medicaid. As a nationally known author, speaker, and consultant, Andy is an author of the best-selling book, Social Security, The Inside Story, called the Social Security Bible and available on Amazon. He is a regular blogger for Wall Street Journal, Market Watch site. He's appeared on TV, Fox Business News, and PBS, and is a frequent guest on radio, including my show, The Money Hour. Andy's background includes working at the Social Security Administration, AARP, Boeing, and his own practice, Thinking Retirement. Andy lives in Seattle with Kay and Cody, his dog. So, Andy, what does a typical Xer or millennial think when they look at their pay stub?
Well, first, you're probably really happy to have a job and a pay stub, which is pretty cool. You might want to frame that thing. But then you start looking at the deductions and you go, hey, where'd all my money go? Especially when you see that big FICA deduction, Tina.
Mm-hmm. And so what do the younger worker think about when you're talking with younger people? What are they thinking about Social Security?
Well, mostly they don't at all. I mean, I didn't when I was that age, right? If they do think about it, they're thinking, what a waste. Give me back my money. I'll do better with it. And, of course, the famous, it's not going to be there for me. So you hear that all the time from younger workers.
So, Andy, are these generations unique in their attitude? Is something new happening here, or?
Just the opposite. Man, I've been around Social Security for 39 years, which I'm starting to realize is over a third of a century. And I've watched generation after generation go through this same pattern. And it goes something like this, all the way back to when I was a boomer. In your 20s and 30s, you hate the Social Security because they're taking money out of your paycheck. And in your 40s and 50s, you start to get a little curious about it. Maybe you hear somebody that's getting Social Security, or you look at what your parents are going through. And then in your 60s, it's like you flip over and it's like, this is a totally vital program and I can't retire without it. So, and one more note, that last reaction really hits home for younger people if they face something horrible like disability or death. Then it's like, it's a really vital program.
So how do you answer the question, what's in it for me? The WIFM.
The WIFM question. I think of Social Security as paycheck insurance. You pay your premium with your payroll deductions, and then that buys you a complete package of worker benefits like you'd expect from a big employer. Retirement benefits, disability, life, health insurance. And then if your paycheck stops for one of three reasons, retirement, disability, or death, heaven forbid, that's when Social Security pays you back. And that package of retirement, disability, life, and health is the foundation of everything you do financially. Everything else is built on top of that.
So, Andy, why should people care?
Well, it sounds remote when you're a younger worker, but I've worked with thousands of young people where disaster does strike, and then the Social Security becomes absolutely the most important thing in their life because stuff happens. You never know when you're going to need it. In fact, Social Security says if you take 100 workers at age 21 and you track them all the way through their career up to retirement age, over those years, 30 of them will be disabled and 20 of them will die.
Wow.
Yeah, it's pretty awesome. So all of the disability and survivor benefits are aimed at younger workers if something happens to a younger person. We're not talking about retirement.
Yeah.
We're talking about stuff that happens to you during your career. So I hate to bring it up, but just imagine the worst. Suppose something happens to you. What if you're sick and you can't get to work for a year or more? How are you going to pay your bills? Or if you have kids, heaven forbid, but how are they going to get by if you're sick or injured or you pass away? So I've talked to, like I said, thousands of people in exactly those situations in their 20s, their 30s, their 40s. And I can tell you Social Security really works to take away some of the pain when those horrible things happen.
I would say prepare for the worst, just focus on the best.
I agree, absolutely.
So let's talk about the cost and how good of a deal this is.
Well, if you include the Social Security and Medicare together, it's 7.65% of your paycheck.
Okay.
With a match from your employer, which who gets a 100% match on their employee benefits?
Yes.
That's crazy. So for the average worker, that's about $3,300. Sounds like a lot, plus a match from the employer. But if you just look at the retirement benefit alone, let's say your retirement age and you have a non-working spouse, you'd have to save $750,000 to match what Social Security is going to pay that couple.
Wow.
It's a stretch. I mean, that's pretty cool. But that doesn't even count the disability, life, and health insurance that you're also buying. So I'd say you're definitely getting your money's worth when you look at the whole package. It's an awesome insurance deal. I've worked in a private benefits department, and I've talked to a lot of insurance people, and I don't think there's any way that you could duplicate that same package in the private sector.
Agreed. So, Andy, a lot of younger people are asking, is Social Security going to be around? Aren't they going to be broke? How do you answer that question?
Yeah, remember that thing a few years ago where young people thought they were more likely to see a UFO than a Social Security check?
Missed that one.
Yeah, pretty cool. So it's a lot better than that. It's a lot better than what you've heard from the general media. For one thing, Social Security is still running a surplus. It was $23 billion last year. So they're still running in the black. And they can pay all the benefits that are due through 2034. Which sounds pretty far away, but it's really not. So if Congress does nothing between now and then, which is possible, then there would be an automatic 21% cut in Social Security. It wouldn't go away. It would just be cut.
So if you look at a worst-case scenario, 21%, it's not that bad is what people think.
Yeah, it's not like there's not going to be anything there. And I think that's really the challenge for younger workers right now is how are you going to fill that 21% gap? How much are they willing to pay in taxes or cut from benefits to fill the gap? And the question comes down to, what do you want Social Security to do for your generation going forward? Every generation has had to answer that question, all the way back to the 1930s. What do we want it to do? And they've modified it for each generation. So that's the challenge coming up.
So, Andy, how is Social Security different from other worker benefits, especially when we're talking about retirement plans?
Really different. For one thing, only about 50% of jobs have any retirement plan, including 401ks and that kind of thing. Pensions are pretty much gone. Savings plans like 401ks and 403bs haven't really panned out. They're complicated. There's too many things that can go wrong, like people don't save enough, which is classic. They invest poorly or the market goes south, no fault of theirs. Investing rules mean sometimes you can't take that 401k money with you to the next job. So by contrast, Social Security is totally simple. It's all automatic. It's totally portable to 95% of jobs in the U.S. And it generates something that's totally understandable, a monthly check for the rest of your life. So it's just so much simpler than your typical worker package from an employer.
So, Andy, on what we've talked about so far, can you summarize this for my listeners?
Yeah, probably one key thing I said was that Social Security is the foundation of everything else you do. It doesn't matter whether you're doing estate planning, life insurance, disability planning, any of that starts off with your Social Security. So obviously, if this is your money, you owe it to yourself and your family to learn what it can do and what you can do to build on that foundation, working with people like your guests.
There you go. Andy, anything new happening with Social Security that you want to share with my listeners?
No, probably it goes back to the same old message that we all need to look at our Social Security records at ssa.gov/myaccount. Set up your own account just like you do at a bank or an investment house and make sure you know what it's doing for you. So that's ssa.gov/myaccount.
Okay. Andy, what about some myths out there that we can clear up for listeners? What's the biggest myth that you hear?
Biggest one, especially for people approaching retirement, is Social Security is based on your last 5 or 10 years. You hear 10 years all the time. Social Security is based on my best 10 years. It's not. It's based on your best 35 years. And younger workers need to know that because it's based on your average income throughout your career. So taking a few years off, not a big deal. Taking 20 years off and then re-entering the workforce, there's no way you're going to get a full high Social Security payment. So that's very common. It's not based on 10 years. It's based on 35 years of work. Let's see, another big myth.
And you always said, talk about really preparing and planning on when you're actually going to start drawing from Social Security, because there's some pretty hefty, substantial financial implications if you draw too early or you're not strategizing on when to do that.
You can take the retirement payment as early as 62, and in fact, that's the most common filing date is age 62. That's where you get the least Social Security over your lifetime. All you got to do is live to average life expectancy or more, and you'll get much more money by waiting till 66 or 70. So basically, take it early. You're betting you're going to die early.
Yeah.
Now, I understand if you need the money, you need the money. Absolutely. But if you can delay it with a little bit of part-time work or something, draw from your savings a little bit, you're going to come out money ahead. So do some planning around that.
Makes sense.
Yeah.
So what about a biggest mistake that you can help my listeners avoid?
A couple ideas. One is taking it too early, like we just said.
Yes.
One is not planning ahead by not getting your Social Security statement at ssa.gov/myaccount. And, this is going to sound screwy, but especially for younger workers, I hear about this all the time. Oh, my husband died 3 years ago. We have kids. I never knew we could get Social Security.
Yeah.
And now you've kissed away 3 years of benefits.
Wow.
Tens of thousands of dollars. So don't ignore it. If you know anybody that goes through a major disability or, heaven forbid, a death in the family, especially if there's kids involved, send them to Social Security and see if there's some money there.
Yeah.
I hate to hear, families come in years later And, they can go back 6 months. That's it.
Yeah.
So,
not a lot of time to recover a mistake and a missed opportunity.
Yeah.
So, Andy, as I wrap up my time here with you, I'd like you to call to action for your book. Can you tell them what it is and where to pick it up at?
Again, the book is Social Security, The Inside Story. And it's called The Bible of Social Security. It's not as hard to read as the Bible. Basically, a full guided tour through the entire Social Security system, whether you're facing a disability in your family, a regular retirement payment, whatever it might be. And it's the best place to get it is Amazon. They have a real good price on it. So Social Security, The Inside Story by Andy Landis.
Wonderful. Andy, thank you again so much for joining me in studio. Appreciate your wealth of information.
Love being here. Thank you.
Have fun this Halloween weekend. Be safe. Have a great time with the kids, trick-or-treating, and enjoy the weekend. This is your host and mortgage expert, Tina Mitchell, signing off for the day. Enjoy your Saturday, and I look forward to talking money with you next Saturday, same time, same place, right here on 1150 AM KKNW.
The preceding program was paid for by Gateway Mortgage Group, LLC, Equal Housing Lender, NMLS number 7233. Tina Mitchell, MLO 145420, is a licensed loan originator with Gateway Mortgage Group. Contact your local branch for more information.